back to another season of Nerd Central. I am your host, Mary Grace Rice. Bro, Andy, I don't feel so good.
So that's what that does. I'm Channing Clement, and this is the new Nerd Central. We have some great stuff for you guys this semester, but first, let's head into the news of the week. Marvel Studios has had a banner 2018 with 3 films grossing at least $500 million worldwide. In fact, Marvel has made $4 billion worldwide, with just over $2 billion for Avengers: Infinity War, $1.34 billion for Black Panther, and $610 million for Ant-Man and the Wasp. But enough about 2018. Let's take a look ahead at 2019. Marvel and Entertainment Weekly released our first official look at Captain Marvel, and yes, she is in her blue, red, and gold uniform, prominently featured in the comics. The film is set in the 90s, with Captain Marvel figuring out how to balance her Kree abilities with her human side. The photos showcase Captain Marvel, played by Brie Larson, along with her mentor, Marvel, played by Jude Law, and our first appearance of the shape-shifting Skrulls being set in the 90s. The film shows us what characters looked like back then, with Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury, Jimon Hansu, Karath, and Lee Pace Ronan the Accuser returning. Marvel will be using a combination of makeup and CGI to de-age Jackson to make him look like he did in the 90s. The film will be released on March 8, 2019. Marvel has stated that once Captain Marvel officially makes her debut into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, she will be the most powerful character in the universe. Let's just hope this doesn't turn into the Hulk or Superman situation, where they don't know how to use the character effectively because they're so overpowered. Now let's go into what you all are here for, our crew member segments, this part of the show. First up, we will have Devin Vinzant's Dragon Corner, where he will talk about the Dragon Ball franchise. After that, we have Bradley Justice's Heart of Cards, where he will talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! Franchise. After the commercial break, we will talk about the other 2 crew members and what they will be bringing to Nerd Central this semester. Without further ado, take it away, Devin.
Dragon Ball is a worldwide phenomenon. Since its inception in 1984, what was once a household title in Japan is now a childhood favorite of Americans, Europeans, and Latin nations as well. And with the Dragon Ball Super film releasing in December, I thought it might be a good time to catch the casual observer up to speed. This is Dragon Corner. Let's start with the basics. This is the main character of Dragon Ball, Son Goku. He's a pretty special guy. In fact, his recognizability rivals even beloved characters like Mario and Mickey Mouse. So Mario has mushrooms and Mickey has a Keyblade. What does Goku do? Goku is a martial artist, but not like Karate Kid. Part of what makes Goku so special is his mastery over his body's ki. You may have heard of ki. You may also have heard it called chi, chakra, yoki, simply energy, or sometimes kai. This is incorrect, by the way. Ki is the natural energy our bodies use, our literal fighting spirit. Think of it a little bit like the Force. Everybody's got it, but only certain kinds of people can sense it or manipulate it. There's good ki and evil ki, as well as good and evil god ki. Mostly it just flows through your body invisibly and makes sure you can move and live and all that good stuff. But Goku can use his ki intentionally and manipulate it to his own gain. The first time he learns to channel it officially is when Master Roshi shows off the Kamehameha, a wave formed from gathering up the body's latent energy. Master Roshi invented it after 50 years of intense martial arts training. Goku duplicated it on sight. Ki that's harnessed in this way can clash with the ki of something else. This is usually called a beam struggle, and they're pretty famous in the series. Remember when I said the ki in your body is invisible? Well, that's not always true. Particularly strong fighters have auras, like the golden glow around a Super Saiyan, the crackling lightning on a Super Saiyan 2, the flickering flames of Super Saiyan God, or the fluid-like CG aura of Ultra Instinct. Auras are also known to produce heat, particularly when a lot of ki is being concentrated in one place. In addition to the Kamehameha, Goku can use the Kaioken, which is like a cheat move that multiplies his ki, increasing his strength, speed, and durability at the cost of horrible bodily strain. At first he risks his life at ×4, but eventually he can achieve a 20-fold multiplier on top of the Super Saiyan Blue transformation. Ki blasts are a staple of Dragon Ball, spicing up the fights and allowing the animators to show off their effects budget. It's also responsible for the superhuman feats the characters can display. Like that time Master Roshi blew up the moon because a giant monkey was... you know what? It's going to take more than one video to explain this. How about you guys come back, and I'll tell you all about it on the next Dragon Corner.
Hello and welcome to Nerd Central's Heart of the Cards with your host Bradley Justice. I will be taking a deep dive into the anime juggernaut that is Yu-Gi-Oh! Or what I like to call the Friendship Show. I mean, come on, they even made 3 ridiculous cards that even say friendship on them. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a card game anime that started to air in 1996 with its last season, the original airing in 2004. The show created 5 spin-offs, 4 movies, countless video games, and the top trading card game in the world, with over 22 billion cards sold worldwide. That's a lot of Blue Eyes White Dragons. I'll be focusing on 2 of the movies, Yu-Gi-Oh! The Dark Side of Dimensions and Yu-Gi-Oh! Bonds Beyond Time, and the first 3 animes, Yu-Gi-Oh! Later renamed Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters, Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, and Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. I originally was typical American trash that watched every anime in dubbed. My transformation is all due to learning that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has unaired episodes in the US, and so many things are changed or mistranslated, like the phrase that gave this show its name. Take that, brainwashed dub fans!
My whole life has been a lie.
Yu-Gi-Oh! is based off an Egyptian pharaoh with spiky hair, like most anime heroes, that is later resurrected sharing the body of a boy who finished the ancient puzzle, the Millennium Puzzle, Yugi-Moto.
Now, 5,000 years later, a boy named Yugi unlocks the secret of the Millennium Puzzle. He is infused with ancient magical energies, for destiny has chosen him to defend the world from the return of the Shadow Games, just as the brave pharaoh did 5,000 years ago.
The whole series arc is based off of Yugi and his friends saving the world through a card game, trying to fulfill the pharaoh's destiny and lay the soul of the pharaoh to rest. Next week, we will be talking about Season 1 of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters and the absolute craziness that is Yu-Gi-Oh! With no rules.
Having him attack a card I put on the field myself. The moon! No! Now, Stone Soldier, destroy the moon!
Stay tuned for more Nerd Central. Oh, and yeah, that's my Yu-Gi-Oh! Pop.
Welcome back to Nerd Central. You just watched 2 of our new segments, Dragon Corner with Devin Vinzant and Heart of Cards with Bradley Justice. Some more news for you guys. 2 popular shows are coming to a close at the end of their upcoming seasons. USA Network announced that one of their most popular shows, Mr. Robot, will end after its 4th season. Showrunner Sam Esmail has stated that the show was always planned to go 4 or 5 seasons. The writers were finishing the 4th and 5th seasons of the show when they decided to increase the number of episodes for season 4 to 12 to finish off the series. The final season will debut in 2019. As stated before, another show is coming to an end. Warner Brothers has announced that Big Bang Theory will come to an end after a 12-year run and a record 279 episodes. Some reports stated that series star Jim Parsons, who plays Dr. Sheldon Cooper, was negotiating a pay raise, but CBS didn't want to pay up. According to the producers of the show, the decision was strictly a creative one. The final season will begin airing on September 27th. I can understand why they would end this show, as spoilers, most of the characters are settling down with significant others. Plus, with the cast expanding each and every season, it makes it more and more difficult to be able to pay them. Big Bang Theory, we will cherish every moment we got to be in the lives of your characters. Now let's go to 2 new segments on the show. Up first, we have Mikey Williams' Look Back, where he will take a look back at shows from past to present. After that, we have Cody Nance's Dead on Arrival, where he will explore TV shows that only got 1 season. Let's take it to Look Back with Mikey.
Hello, and welcome to Look Back, a retrospective on shows that I loved as a kid to shows that I love in the present day. I'm Mikey, and let's go way back to when I was a preschooler, and look back on one of my favorite TV shows of all time, Blue's Clues. If I were to describe this show, I would call it a mix of Beauty and the Beast, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and a little bit of Sherlock Holmes in there. And while that sounds a little complicated, it's actually quite simple. Most of the show follows the host, as he goes around the house trying to find 3 clues in order to solve a mystery. These clues are left by the titular dog Blue, as she cannot speak. But there are many things in the house that can speak, such as a shovel, a pail, a mailbox, a clock, a bar of soap, and so on. I have to say, I don't remember the first time I saw this show, because that was a long time ago. But to my farthest memories, I can still remember watching it, so it's past my entire memory. But what I do remember is that I was extremely obsessed with this show as a kid. But the show did have a drop-off point, and it was pretty staggering. When Steve left the show to quote-unquote go to college, the show was left in the hands of Joe. And this, and a couple of changes to the entire format of the show, led to its cancellation 2 years later. But when the show was in its heyday, oh my goodness, this show was successful. From a direct-to-video movie, to games, to merchandise, to everything else that was created, this show was big. And to my parents, it was big on their wallet. This show was meant to be entertaining and educational, and it balanced the two very well. And when I look at TV shows today for little kids, they jam down that teaching stuff so much that the entertainment's gone out the window. And that's why I cannot think of a show that can ever outrun Blue's Clues in my heart. But eventually, time moves on, and so did I. Join me next week as I go under the sea for a show that's been on for almost 20 years. This has been Mikey with Look Back. Stay tuned to Nerd Central.
Hello and welcome to Dead on Arrival, the segment where we talk about terrific shows that only last 1 season or less. Spider-Man has always been one of the world's top superhero properties, maybe even more so today thanks to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But before Homecoming and before Amazing, there was just Spider-Man. The movie inspired a new cartoon back in 2003. Can you guess what network it was on? Yeah, you're wrong, it was on MTV, which is the main culprit of this week's Dead on Arrival show, Spider-Man, the new animated series, a title that doesn't really make sense 15 years later. In this 13-episode series, Peter Parker is in college instead of high school, as it was trying to somewhat follow Sam Raimi's universe of Spider-Man. Spider-Man was voiced by Neil Patrick Harris, and he does a fantastic job as both Peter Parker and Spider-Man. While Peter, Neil's voice is a little higher and nervous, but as Spider-Man, the voice seems a little lower and more confident, perfectly capturing the duality between the character's personality. Now I know you're watching the footage thinking, wow, this animation is kinda weird. That's because it's 2003 CGI. I personally really like this animation style, as you can distinctly differentiate it from all the other Spider-Man cartoons. Now even though being on MTV and not a kids network is what ultimately led to the show's death, it gave the advantage of being allowed to be more mature and dark. Now if you don't understand how a Spider-Man cartoon can be dark, here, I'll show you.
Goodbye, Craven. This is for you, MJ.
So yeah, don't mess with Neil Patrick Harris' Spider-Man. It even has a few naughty words. Not to worry though, Spider-Man is still very funny in this show. Memorable members of Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery make appearances, including Lizard, Electro, Silver Sable, Kingpin, who is still Michael Clark Duncan, and Kraven the Hunter. So no Goblin, no Venom, but the lack of big-name villains doesn't even matter because of how personal the story can get. The show was a great and original take on Spider-Man that should have lasted much longer, but it was just an issue of being on the wrong network. Everyone who regularly watched MTV didn't want to watch a cartoon, much less one about a superhero. And many of the cartoon viewing population probably wasn't allowed to watch MTV back then, leading to poor ratings and a cancellation after one beautiful season. From Dead on Arrival on Nerd Central, this is Cody Nance saying, Sayonara, Spider-Man.
Thanks, guys. We do have a developing story in the DC universe. Henry Cavill is reportedly out as Superman. Warner Brothers has put out a statement to the contrary. We will be sure to update you guys on the situation if anything changes. However, some good news. Henry Cavill has been cast as Geralt of Riviera, a Netflix TV show adaptation of the very successful video game series The Witcher Witch is based on the book series of the same name. At least there is some good news for the Man of Steel. I mean, that mustache gate, am I right? That is going to do it for Nerd Central. Nerd Showdown is next. You can get caught up on all your previous episodes on the KNWT YouTube page. Also, follow KNWT on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And follow Nerd Central on Twitter at nerd_central_TV. We will decide what is the best film of summer on Nerd Showdown after the break. Stay with us.
Welcome to Nerd Showdown, the part of Nerd Central where we battle it out on a particular topic we have no business debating. I'm your host, Devin Vinzant, and this summer of 2018 had some great films. So we asked the question, what was the best film of the summer? Keep in mind we define the summer movie season as April 27th to August 31st. With me today, I have Northwest Missourian reporter James Christensen and Bearcat Update and Channel 8 News reporter Nolan Brooks. Nolan, why don't you start us off? Why was Incredibles 2 the best film of this summer?
Alright, so right off the bat, I just want to say that Incredibles 2 is the perfect sequel to Incredibles number 1. I mean, it really starts right off where the Parr family left us all those years ago, and it really develops their family further. Also, it's the 14 years in the making, but it feels like it was just yesterday that Incredibles came out. So I feel like it really hit home with a lot of people because they know how the film was that all those years ago. And it does more than just be a kid's movie, in my opinion. It's really attacks at how to be a good family, how to, really look up to your heroes and not really look down on your heroes, even though the media in the movie says that they're bad. And I just thought it was a very visual film that introduces ideas of invention with the new bike that Elastigirl has and all the different gadgets that they introduce, and then also the superheroes that they bring in is just super cool in my mind. And they all these different superpowers that they introduce to the entire fan base of Incredibles, and there's all these new characters that you can look forward to if you go see the movie, of course. And of course the best part in my mind was that it showcased Jack. There was the special little tidbit at the end of the first one where if you get the Blu-ray disc, you get to see it. But now he has an entire part of this movie, and it was just so cool to see him bounce around the house with the powers and then, fight the raccoon out in the yard. I mean, I thought that was hilarious, and it was a genius idea. And I feel like there's just not more that you can ask for in a sequel to a movie like Incredibles. And it really hit home for me.
Avengers Infinity War, this is like the culmination of the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe to this point. They have been working over the last decade for this film to be made in the making, and it has all of our favorite heroes like Captain America, Black Widow, Star-Lord, Groot, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, basically every Marvel hero we've seen on the screen in the last decade makes an appearance in this film, and it is the best part of this film. Getting to see all these heroes that you think never get to work together actually have those interactions. Like, aside from this movie, do you think you ever would see an interaction between Iron Man and Star-Lord, or between Black Panther and Rocket Raccoon? Do you ever think we'd ever get those outside of this film? Also, just the cinematic amazingness of this film, like you have amazing fight scenes, graphics, the entire sequence in Wakanda, just that entire final battle at the end of the movie is just so amazingly well done in terms of the stunts, the choreography of the fight scenes, the overall drama that's behind it. And the ending literally sets us up to the point where we know that the next movie, there is a huge thing at stake. Over half the universe is gone by the end of the movie. So whoever does survive has to pick up those pieces and bring it back. And it's just everything we've been living up to ever since Iron Man came out in 2008. We've just been waiting for this day slowly and slowly, and there have been Easter eggs throughout multiple Marvel films hinting that this was coming. And we finally got it. We got it to the point where it is probably my favorite superhero movie thus far ever, because of just the amazing way that they brought all of these characters together. They tied up the Civil War plot lines that were left kind of ambiguous at the end of the film, as well as bringing together some of my favorite characters like Mantis and Scarlet Witch, and just bringing them all together in a way that was what the people had been wanting since the beginning of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And it just blew us out of the water and has all of us sitting on the edge of our seats like, give us Avengers 4 now, please. We need to see what happens in the second part.
Just to go off of all these people dying, I thought way too many people died in this movie. You just introduced us to a new Spider-Man, a Black Panther, a Doctor Strange, and now they're already gone. And I felt like that was way too many people to just instantly click off the scene. I mean, I know there's a little extra stuff, but I thought it was way too many people. Something big about Thanos that I really had a problem with, he's been around in the MCU, you know, you've seen little tidbits of him every now and then in every other movie. But once he got his moment, I felt like he was super delayed.
Honestly, when I found out they were doing Incredibles 2, I was excited, but when I went and saw it, I left feeling so disappointed because it did not live up to the expectations that I had been waiting since I was 7 years old for the sequel to give me. Literally. It's basically a rehashing of the first movie, like pretty much the exact same plot. Like, you have the family drama, you got the superhero drama, you got the big action scene at the end of the film. Voila! Basically the same thing as the first movie. And if you pay attention, Evil Endeavors, her name is literally Evil Endeavors.
Incredibles 2, like I said before, it really lives up to the hype that all of us guys and girls that are adults now really got to see our childhood kind of jump ahead a little bit. You know, we waited 14 years, but it was a perfect time for it, I feel.
This is the standard that has been set for superhero films going forward. This is probably by far the best one we've had this decade, and probably will not see anything like it again for a while till the second Avengers Part 2 of this comes out. So overall, this was a groundbreaking film that started the second phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and is by far the best film of the summer.
That's going to do it for this week's Showdown, and this week the winner is Avengers Infinity War.
Yes!
You can head to Nerd Central's Twitter to show your support for this week's Showdown. Nerdmageddon is coming up next. You can catch Channel 8 News at 6:15 p.m. and check out the Missourian every Thursday during Student Media Day. See you next week on Nerd Central.